Right then, Blades fans, buckle up, because today's update is absolutely massive. We've got 3 stories that could define the rest of our season. And trust me, you need to hear every single word of this. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button right now and join thousands of Blades supporters who get their Sheffield United news first. Hit the bell icon too. You don't want to miss what's coming next. Today, we're diving deep into 3 critical developments at Bramall Lane. First up, we'll talk about why the next week could completely transform our championship campaign, for better or worse. Then, we're discussing a young prospect who might need another loan move in January to continue his devil, Amen. And finally, we're addressing the elephant in the room, one of our summer signings who's dividing opinion among the fan base. This is the reality check we all need. Let's get into it. Here's the truth, Blades faithful. Our next 7 days could make or break everything. We're talking about a 3-game week in the championship that has the potential to either ignite our season or bury us deeper in the relegation mire. Sound dramatic? It absolutely should, because the stakes couldn't be higher. Let me take you back to March of last season. Remember that feeling? The Blades were flying, sitting pretty at the top of the championship table. We just battered Coventry City 3-1 at Bramall Lane, our 4th win in 5 matches. That victory gave us a 4-point cushion at the summit. With just over a month of the regular season remaining, we were cruising towards automatic promotion, or so we thought. Then came early April. 3 matches, 8 days, complete disaster. We lost 1-0 to Oxford United away, 1-0 at home to Millwall, and then 2-1 to Plymouth Argyle at Bramall Lane. 3 defeats to teams we absolutely should have been beating, 2 of them relegation candidates. For crying out loud, just like that, we'd thrown away automatic promotion and were headed for the playoff lottery. Those 8 days saw us lose as many matches as we had in the previous 3 months combined. But here's the thing, and this is where it gets interesting. That nightmarish week proved something crucial about the championship. Fortunes can turn on a sixpence. What goes down can come back up just as quickly. And right now, sitting bottom of the table with just 3 points from 9 matches, we desperately need that pendulum to swing back in our favor. Chris Wilder knows this better than anyone. The gaffer lived through last season's collapse, and he's back now to put it right. After the international break, we've got Watford at home this Saturday. Then it's up to Lancashire for 2 away fixtures in the space of 72 hours. Blackburn Rovers at Ewart Park on Tuesday night, followed by Preston North End at Deepdale on Friday evening. 3 matches, 1 week, potentially 9 points up for grabs. Now, I'm not going to stand here and tell you any of these are easy fixtures. There's no such thing as an easy match in the championship. Our disastrous start to this season has hammered that point home more than ever. But these fixtures represent something more important than points. They represent momentum, they represent belief, and they represent a chance to show this squad what they're actually capable of when they click. Let's be brutally honest about where we are. Bottom of the table, 3 points from 9 games, 3 goals scored all season. That's relegation form, pure and simple. The board confirmed when they brought Wilder back last month. That promotion is still the target this season. Now, whether that target has shifted after another 3 defeats under Chris, we don't know for certain. But with 111 points still to play for, it's surely not been abandoned entirely. Here's what needs to happen this week. If we can get that first home win of the season against Watford on Saturday, confidence will naturally lift. That's just basic psychology. Get 3 points at Bramall Lane. Hear the cabroring again, and suddenly those back-to-back away trips don't look quite so daunting. String together a couple of wins, and suddenly, we're not talking about survival anymore. We're talking about climbing the table and getting this promotion. Push back on track. And here's what we learned from last season's horror show in April. The championship is utterly ruthless when it comes to these condensed fixture periods. You can lose 3 matches in a week and watch months of hard work evaporate. But the reverse is also true. Win 3 games in a week, and you can completely transform your season, your confidence, and your league position. The players know what's required. Wilder's given them the roadmap. Now it's about execution, taking chances, and showing some of that quality we know exists in this squad. We've got internationals scattered throughout this team, players who've performed at the highest level. It's time they started proving it again. If there's one positive to take, it's timing. Coming out of an international break gives the gaffer extra time on the training pitch. Time to drill patterns, work on set pieces, rebuild confidence. and get everyone singing from the same hymn sheet. No excuses now. Before we move on, I want to hear from you lot. Do you think this 3-game week will be the turning point our season desperately needs? Or are you worried we could fall even further behind? Drop your predictions in the comments below, and if you're enjoying this breakdown, give the video a like. It helps more Blades fans find this content. Right? Let's talk about the future. Specifically, a 19-year-old defender who's barely featured for our first team and needs regular football to continue his development. Sam Curtis, talented prospect, virtually no game time, and a big decision looming in January. For those who might not be completely familiar with Curtis, let me give you the background. We signed him in January 2024 from St. Patrick's Athletic in the League of Ireland. He'd broken through at St. Pat's and made 60 appearances for them, scoring 3 goals from defense. Not bad for a teenager. The club clearly saw something in him, viewing him as a long-term investment rather than an immediate first-team solution. Since arriving at Bramall Lane, Curtis has made just 2 appearances for the senior squad. 2. That's it. The rest of his time has been spent with our development team, which, let's be fair, isn't doing his progression any favors at this stage of his career. He's 19 years old, contracted until summer 2027, and he needs to be playing proper competitive football every week. We've already loaned him out twice. Actually, he spent time at Peterborough United in League One, making 19 appearances for the Posh without scoring. Then last season, we sent him north of the border to St. Johnstone in the Scottish Premiership, where he got another 17 matches under his belt. Both loans gave him valuable experience, but clearly not enough to force his way into Chris Wilder's plans for this season. Here's where it gets tricky. Curtis is a right back primarily, but he can also slot in at center back if needed. That versatility should be an asset. However, with our current defensive options and the scramble, we're in at the bottom of the championship table. Breaking into the first team is virtually impossible. For a teenager still finding his feet at this level, let me be clear about something. Sitting in the development squad at 19 years old is doing nobody any favors. At that age, players need to be testing themselves against grown men every single week, learning how to handle the physical and mental demands of proper competitive football. Training is important, sure, but nothing replaces actual match experience. That's why, in my view, and I think most sensible Blades fans would agree, we need to loan Curtis out again in January, another 6 months at a decent league. One club or even the Scottish Premiership would be far more beneficial than sporadic development squad minutes and the occasional cup appearance. Think about the context of where we are as a club right now. We're battling relegation from the Championship. Chris Wilder needs experienced, battle-hardened players who know what it takes to grind out results when you're under pressure. As much potential as Curtis might have, this isn't the time to be blooding young prospects in a relegation dogfight. That's just reality. The key is finding the right loan destination. Both Peterborough and St. Johnstone gave him decent game time, but we need to be strategic about the next move. Ideally, we'd want a League One club where he'd be a guaranteed starter, playing in a system that suits his strengths. Regular football in a competitive environment where he can make mistakes, learn, and develop without the crushing pressure of a relegation battle. Some fans might argue we should keep him around for squad depth, especially given our injury history and the congested championship fixture list. I get that perspective, but it's short-sighted. Depth is only valuable if players are actually going to feature. If Curtis is the 25th name on the team sheet and only gets minutes in dead rubber cup ties, what's the point? He'd be far better served playing 20 to 25 matches on loan somewhere. The other aspect to consider is Curtis's own development trajectory. We signed him as a prospect from Irish football. He's not going to become the finished article sitting on our bench or playing development squad matches. He needs to be challenged, pushed, and given responsibility. That only happens with regular first-team football at a competitive level. January gives us the perfect opportunity to reassess and make the right decision. By then, we'll hopefully have climbed away from the bottom of the table. Fingers crossed after that 3-game week we just discussed. We'll have a clearer picture of our squad needs and where the gaps are, and Curtis will have had another few months training with the first team, staying sharp and ready for his next loan challenge. What do you reckon, Blades fans? Should we loan Sam Curtis out again in January? Or do you think he deserves a chance to fight for his place in the first team? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I genuinely want to hear what you're thinking on this one, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Right, this is where things get a bit spicy. Let's talk about Cheetah Ziabi, the 28-year-old Irish international winger we brought in on loan from Ipswich Town in the summer. He was supposed to add pace, directness, and Premier League experience to our attack. Instead, he's become one of the most debated players in our squad, with fans absolutely divided on whether he's been any good at all. Over the weekend, the popular Blades fan account Sheffield way threw out a question on social media. What did you think of his first few games as a Blade? The responses? Well, let's just say they weren't exactly glowing endorsements across the board. Some fans were positive, others were diplomatic, but quite a few were brutally honest about their concerns. Let me share some of the responses, because they paint a fascinating picture. One supporter called him very bright, a very good player. Fair enough. Another said he'd be great as a permanent signing or a decent loan player to fill a squad spot. Again, reasonable. But then the criticism started rolling in. Nothing out of the ordinary, to be honest, said one fan. Average so far, said another. And perhaps most damning, the lad can't cross a ball, just likes running into the corner with it. That last comment really cuts to the heart of the issue, doesn't it? Ogbene has pace, nobody's questioning that. He can carry the ball, beat a man, and get into dangerous positions. But what happens when he gets there? Too often, the final ball lets him down. The cross doesn't beat the first defender. The cutback goes astray. The shot lacks conviction. It's frustrating to watch, especially when you know the quality should be there. Let's look at the numbers, because they're genuinely concerning. This season, Ogbene's attacking output has been virtually non-existent. His expected goals, 0.03. That's not a typo, 0.03. He's averaging just 0.2 shots on target per game. For a winger brought in to add firepower to a team desperately lacking goals. Those are worrying statistics. We've scored 3 goals all season as a team, and Ogbene hasn't been the solution we hoped he'd be. Now, before everyone jumps down my throat, let's add some context here. This is clearly a very talented footballer we're talking about. Ipswich Town paid £8 million for him in August 2024 after he'd impressed at Luton Town in the Premier League, making 30 appearances in the top flight. That's no small achievement. Kieran McKenna, one of the brightest young managers in English football, wanted him badly enough to spend that kind of money. The quality is there, somewhere. But here's the thing that often gets overlooked. Ogbene suffered a serious Achilles tendon injury at the end of October last year. Achilles injuries are absolutely devastating for footballers, especially wingers whose entire game is built on pace and acceleration. He missed the entire rest of the season recovering and rehabbing. That's not just a physical setback, it's a mental one too. Coming back from that kind of injury takes time. It affects your confidence, your explosiveness, your willingness to push yourself to the absolute limit. You're always thinking in the back of your mind, is it going to go again? Several responses on social media picked up on this, mentioning his confidence and match fitness as potential issues. That's probably bang on. Look, here's my take on the Ogbene situation. He's underperforming, no question, but so is literally everyone else in a Sheffield United shirt right now. We're bottom of the championship with 3 points from 9 games. Nobody's covering themselves in glory. Singling out Ogbene feels slightly unfair when the entire team is struggling to function. One fan response really resonated with me. Most of the negative comments could be directed at almost every player this season. He's been better than some of the so-called marquee signings who haven't started performing this season. Personally, I like what I've seen. Someone said he needs a bit more confidence. I give him a 7 out of 10. That feels about right to me. Is Ogbene tearing up the championship? No. Is he the worst player in our squad? Absolutely not. He's a solid 6 or 7 out of 10, which in this current team actually makes him one of our better performers. That says more about our collective struggles than it does about his individual quality. The biggest challenge Chris Wilder faces isn't just about Ogbene. It's about the entire squad. We brought in 15 new players in the summer. 15. That's basically a complete rebuild. Building cohesion, understanding, and a winning mentality with that much turnover is incredibly difficult. Players who've never kicked a ball together are supposed to gel instantly. In one of the most competitive leagues in world football, it doesn't work like that. Wilder needs time to figure out the right combinations, the right system, and the right mentality. Some players will thrive under his management. We've seen that before in his previous stint. Others might not fit what he wants. Ogbene falls somewhere in the middle, a useful squad player with quality on his day, but not the world beater some fans might have hoped for when we signed him. The international break might have been crucial for Ogbene specifically. Extra time on the training pitch to work on his fitness, his sharpness, and his understanding with his teammates. Maybe that crossing technique gets some focus work. Maybe his confidence builds through small-sided games and tactical drills. We need him to step up because God knows we need goals from somewhere. So here's my question for all of you watching. Has Cheetah Ogbene done enough to keep his place in the starting 11? Or would you make changes? And more broadly, do you think Chris Wilder can get a tune out of this group of players? Or do we need another rebuild in January? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one, and I love debating this stuff with fellow Blades fans. Give this video a thumbs up if you found this analysis useful, and make sure you're subscribed for more Sheffield United content. We're putting out videos regularly throughout the season, breaking down every twist and turn of what's shaping up to be a massive campaign. Right then, Blades family, let's wrap this up. We've covered 3 massive stories today that all point to the same conclusion. The next few weeks are absolutely critical for Sheffield United. To recap quickly, we've got a 3-game week coming up that could completely transform our season, with matches against Watford, Blackburn, and Preston offering us the chance to build momentum and climb away from the relegation zone. We've talked about Sam Curtis and the sensible decision to loan him out again in January, so he can continue his development with regular football. And we've debated Cheetah Ogbene, the summer signing who's dividing opinion but deserves more time to prove himself. After coming back from a serious Achilles injury, these aren't just isolated stories. They're all connected. They're all about a club trying to find its identity again, trying to build something after a summer of chaos and a disastrous start to the campaign. Chris Wilder is back, and he needs time. He needs results. And he needs every single Blades fan behind the team. If you've not already subscribed to the channel, do it right now. Hit that subscribe button, smash the notification bell, and join this community of passionate Sheffield United supporters who want the very best for our club. We're putting out regular content, match analysis, transfer news, and honest opinions about where we're at. Share this video with other Blades fans who need to see it. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know what you're thinking about these 3 stories. Are you optimistic about the 3-game week? What would you do with Sam Curtis? And has Ogbene done enough to keep his place? The championship is relentless, but so are we. We're Sheffield United. We've been through worse than this and come out the other side. This season is far from over. In fact, it's only just beginning. I'll be back later this week with more upgrades, more analysis, and more Blades content. Until then, keep the faith, keep supporting the lads, and let's hope this 3-game week is the turning point we desperately need. Up the Blades, we go again.